Welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And I cannot believe your boy Ace is already in off-season mode. We are officially in the Devils off-season, talking about off-season things, and a topic that continually pops up on social media, websites, blogs, etc. Is Quinn Hughes coming to the New Jersey Devils? Now, I did a video a couple weeks ago or so about this. Jim Rutherford, president of the Canucks, dropped some bombshells at his end-of-season availability, confirming what we all had already thought, that Quinn Hughes, in fact, wants to play with his brothers. Then he joked around about, it's out of my control unless I bring them here. Then went on to add a joke about tampering, which I still believe that was tampering, but I knew nothing would happen to him. But either way, Jack and Lukehughes obviously are not going to the Vancouver Canucks, which leaves the only other possibility on the table, and that is Quinn Hughes joining Jack and Luke in New Jersey. Now, Quinn Hughes, dynamic player, top probably 10 or so player in the league. Absolutely phenomenal, in my opinion. Second best defenseman in the league, only behind Cale Makar, and the New Jersey Devils would love to have him, as would the fan base, obviously. Dynamic player. All three Hughes brothers, marketing dream. I got it all. Got it. Would love to have him here. Instantly makes the team better. However, every time Jim Rutherford talks, it seems to me as if he's further preparing the Canucks fan base to lose Quinn Hughes because it seems inevitable. Now, this latest kind of situation arose from a quote that Rutherford made a couple days ago after they canned Rick Tocchet as the coach there. And the quote reads, "I hope he's playing golf because he usually returns my calls right away. And I called him within a half hour of talking to Rick, and he hasn't called me back," says Jim Rutherford when asked if he's talked to Quinn Hughes about Tocchet's departure. Now, later on, they went on to follow up on this and say, Quinn Hughes was at a Knicks game with somebody, and, that's why he wasn't picking up the phone, whatever it is. But in the end, there was really no need for Rutherford to divulge this information to the public, in my opinion. And I do believe it is all just kind of preparing the fan base for what is the inevitable. Quinn is not going to sign there when he's an unrestricted free agent in 2 years. He wants to play with his brothers, and so it would be in the best interest of the Vancouver Canucks to trade him sooner than later. It doesn't seem as if they are going to be in the position to contend for anything in the next couple years, and so what is the point of holding on to him? The sooner you trade him, the more you're going to get for him. Now, that leads us into a whole nother situation here. On a podcast recently, Jeff Marek and Wish were discussing it and talking about the potential trade packages to get Quinn to New Jersey. And I thought this was interesting, and I'll, talk about all this in a second, but here's the clip.
This one came in from the chat here while you guys were talking about the Tocchet news that was breaking. Okay. What could a Quinn Hughes to the New Jersey Devils trade this summer look like? That comes from Dana O'Connor.
Nice. Thank you, Dana. Well, it starts with Nemec.
It starts with Simon Nemec.
Does it have a Dawson Mercer in here?
It would definitely include Dawson Mercer. It would definitely, it could maybe even include Seamus Casey and Nemec. Now, where it gets really interesting is that very thing that you're talking about, which is that Quinn Hughes was just nominated for the Norris. He won't win it, but he got another nomination. Won it last year. He is, without question, I think, at this point, the second best defenseman in the NHL behind Cale Makar. Maybe the first in the postseason with how Makar has been playing. But I digress. So then it becomes a thing of he clearly wants to play with his brothers. He's going to leave to play with his brothers anyway, when he becomes a free agent. Again, we're just going in theory here. If you're the Devils, how high up the ladder do you climb in players that you're looking to trade for Quinn Hughes now, that you're willing to part with, that are going to make your team worse as you make it better with the acquisition of Quinn Hughes? When you start getting into the Hischier and Bratt territory, I think it gets a little dicey, doesn't it? As far as a trade for Quinn Hughes,
yes,
and
absolutely.
For me, it does too. I think Nico Hischier's untouchable. That's kind of where I am on it. I think he's played himself into.
You know how I feel about Nico Hischier.
I think Nico Hischier has now reached that rarefied air of if you trade Nico Hischier, you will spend the rest of Quinn Hughes' time in New Jersey trying to find Nico Hischier. And so I don't think if they say Nico, we're like, all right, we'll wait it out and just sign him as a free agent. I'm not sure if you're getting Bratt, although that would be interesting with the Pettersson of it all.
Yep.
Could the trade be 1-for-1? Jesper Bratt for Quinn Hughes?
No, you're getting
Bratt and Nemec.
You're getting that's getting warmer. But like you're getting maybe the best defenseman in the NHL, the best.
Okay, but if you're Vancouver and your market is New Jersey, or hang on to the guy as he
I get it. Trust me,
continues
I understand
to do the slash marks on the wall of the prison cell until he's an unrestricted free agent. Like, don't you have to take that deal if you're Vancouver? And listen, as a Devils fan, I don't want to trade Bratt. I think Bratt's an extremely special player.
Oh God, yeah.
Maybe one of the best like stick handlers I've seen, like and skaters. Like that combination, like he's one of those stick handle in a phone booth guys, and the things he does with the puck in the offensive zone are remarkable. But to get Quinn Hughes, you've got to give
a lot.
And so Bratt, Nemec, I know Vancouver fans are probably having a heart attack in the comments right now, but you're not in a position of dictating terms on this trade if we are to believe Jim Rutherford.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Would Bratt and Nemec get it done? I don't know.
I would still want a first-round pick because you're getting a couple. You're
I mean,
getting a couple years here.
Draft picks are like samples at the mall now. Like we're just giving them away. Who cares?
I got.
I'm not going to lie. When I first saw this, I was pretty livid because it is absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And listen, Canucks fans, my heart goes out to you. I'm not trying to be a jerk about this. I'm not trying to rub your face in it, but you have to be realistic. The New Jersey Devils hold all the cards here. The leverage is completely theirs. The Canucks have nothing. No leverage whatsoever in the situation. Quinn is gone in 2 years. And so they're kind of at the mercy of the Devils and whatever other teams may be interested in obtaining his services for potentially only 2 years. Now, I do think plenty of teams would pay a decent price to get Quinn, even if they knew he was only going to be there for the 2 years and then go sign with the Devils after. But what these gentlemen were talking about in the clip is downright just absurd, ridiculous, and unrealistic. I promise you, the Vancouver Canucks are absolutely not getting Nico Hischier or Jesper Bratt in a deal for Quinn Hughes, given the situation and the circumstances. Now, to clarify, I am not saying that Quinn Hughes is not worthy of a package that would include one of these players. Because in a vacuum, right? In a vacuum, without the variables that exist, and that is the reality of the situation, he certainly is worthy of one of those players being included in a package for him. But the variables do exist, and the variables are he only has 2 years left on his deal, and he said he wants to play with his brothers. And so now this is not going to be an average trade or a normal trade that you see tons of big-name guys going the other way for Quinn Hughes. This is a very unique situation. Like I said, for Canucks fans, it is super unfortunate. I do feel bad for you. It is so rare that you kind of get your backs pressed against the wall by a situation like this where a guy wants to go play with his brothers and they're both on another team. It's super unfortunate, but the reality is Rutherford has no leverage here. None whatsoever. And so the only thing he can do is see what other teams would be willing to pay for Quinn Hughes given the circumstances that we all know. And that is, in 2 years, he's going to sign with the Devils, more than likely. I would say 95% chance. So I do think teams would be willing to pay a good amount for 2 years of Quinn Hughes. A lot of teams might think that could get them over the hump and make them go from, a middle-of-the-road contender to a Stanley Cup favorite of sorts. But you're not getting Nico Hischier or Jesper Bratt from the Devils in this trade, period. It would make absolutely no sense for them to do so because we could get him for absolutely nothing. No assets necessary in 2 short years from now. And so I am of the mindset that if the Canucks are going to play hardball and demand something like this, then just wait the 2 years. With that being said, I do think there is a value in getting Quinn Hughes here as soon as possible, obviously. The second he comes to the team, he makes the team better, assuming you're not making one of these ridiculous trades that these people are talking about, which is not happening. And so you could wait the 2 years, or the Canucks could take some sort of package that makes sense for the Devils, but that package certainly would not include the captain, the heart and soul leader of the Devils, Nico Hischier, and it certainly wouldn't include Jesper Bratt. Now, Nico, I just think, is ridiculous to even the captain, great two-way forward, Selke nominee type player, and you're not getting him for 2 years of Quinn sooner. Sorry, that's not happening. And then in terms of Bratter, he's been the Devils' most consistent and productive forward over the last 4 years. He's over a point per game for the past 4 years. For a New Jersey Devils team that we saw this season that just ended struggle mightily offensively, what sense would it make for them to deal their best, or at least a lot of people will make the Jack Hughes argument, fine. But Bratter's been the most consistent and at worst case, your second best offensive player. And so why would you deal a guy like that to Vancouver to get Quinn here just 2 years sooner? Because in 2 years, we get him for nothing. So I just don't understand how credible journalists, or whatever you want to call them, could have a show and talk about something that's just so absurd. So rest assured, Devils fans, if we do go for Quinn before he's a free agent, we will not be trading Nico Hischier or Jesper Bratt. It's just completely ridiculous. And on the flip side, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Canucks fans. The reality is the reality. You're not getting Bratt or Nico Hischier. Now, there are tons of other deals that I think the Devils could offer that would make sense for both them and the Canucks. But in the end, the Canucks fans are going to be underwhelmed with what they ultimately receive for Quinn Hughes because of the circumstances. And that is, we don't have to pay a lot because in 2 years we get him for free. Yeah, you could try to go drive up the price and offer him to other teams. And while I do think other teams will be interested, there is a limit to what other teams will offer, knowing that he's 99% a goner when he's a free agent. So it's a very sticky situation. Super unfortunate for the Canucks, very fortunate for the Devils, but that is the reality. And so before any Canucks fans start flaming me and saying all this, I'm not saying that Quinn Hughes is not worthy of one of those players in a hypothetical deal. The issue is that he's going to come here in 2 years anyway, and so therefore the deal looks very, very different from what it would look like otherwise. And that's just the reality of the situation. But shame on people kind of putting this out there in the air as if it's remotely realistic. Bratt is not going to Vancouver. Nico Hischier is not going to Vancouver. And so we'll see how this plays out. There is a value in getting him here sooner, and I'm curious to see if Fitzgerald and the Devils entertain it at all this summer. Could be very interesting. I wouldn't be mad at it, assuming it's a normal package that, given the circumstances. But I'll keep an eye on this. I'm sure many others will. It is kind of evolving in real time as we go on here. Curious to see, if this gets put on the back burner or if something happens this summer. But, yeah, that's it. I had to kind of give my thoughts on this clip because after I saw it, I was just furious. Hischier and Bratt, come on, man. Not happening. But I will be back soon with some more Devils end of the season wrap-up stuff, kind of my takeaways from their exit interviews and all that stuff. I'm going to have my end of season rewards, a bunch of other things. The big giveaway show is coming. Keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm going to be giving away a ton of Devils merch and memorabilia in a couple weeks. The details for that will be coming out soon. And I always got stuff in the works, guys. Always got stuff in the works. Our season may be over, but the channel continues. The videos will continue because, like I always say, we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Not just the season, all year long, and I'll be here in the summer. Not as much, but I will be here. But that's it, guys. Let me know what you thought about any of this in the comments. Anything, everything Devils hockey, throw it out there in the comments. I enjoy talking to all of you. I'll be back soon. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.